Bulletproof coffee. What's up YouTube? So today I have to send a gigantic wire to China, so I'll use that opportunity to talk about sort of that process and my thoughts on how to handle it. I also have a few calls, just Amazon work, my usual type of stuff, so you'll get to follow along that as well. So just got off a couple really good calls. Probably have a partnership coming up, so that's going to be something really cool that I think I'll talk about once it's set in stone. I don't really want to put this sort of thing out there just yet, but something interesting is coming, and probably something that I'll put out there to you guys as well. So right now I'm about to head to the bank to do a huge wire. This is basically my balance payment for some of my main products for Q4. So, you know, I'll send like a 20 to 30% deposit to get the order started, and then the 70 to 80% is due when the product is ready to ship. So this is like my last minute big Q4 push. So yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit more later, just about like sort of my practices with sending big payments overseas. But I remember my first time, I was actually dealing with India at the time, and rather than China on my first product, and I wired $800, and I just thought, like, I remember being so scared of that, and it was like, I just thought, if I lose this $800, like, I just have to like kiss it goodbye. And now I'm sending a lot more than that. So I think the wire that I'm about to send is $101,000 to one supplier. $101,246.74. Alright, so I'm back. $101,000 sent to the supplier in China. Like I was saying earlier, I at first felt crazy sending $800 by a wire, because when you send a wire, there's really no protections, right? And if I could, I would put everything on a credit card, get crazy protections, get so many reward points. But the thing is that a supplier isn't going to take that, because there's a credit card processing fee. And say on like $100,000, say there's a 3% processing fee, roughly. That would mean $3,000 in a fee. So with a wire, you save $3,000, even though your points would have been $2,000, like say 2% on like the Capital One that I use. But yeah, it just doesn't work out, because the savings by sending a wire at that level of just value is gonna always outweigh the fees. So no one's gonna really take that. And if they did take it, then you'd be paying the fee anyways, so you could have negotiated 3% down. So yeah, but a wire doesn't have any protection, which is scary. And the thing is for me to get up to this level of wire now, it requires me to just have a lot of trust with that supplier. And that's the case with this one. This is a supplier I've been dealing with for a long time. It's pretty much my core supplier for a lot of my items. So it's really just trust. Probably at my level, I should be looking into like real written agreements and stuff like that. But so far, we just have a good relationship and everything's smooth sailing. Literally, it's going on the boat. When starting out, you might be able to convince a supplier to accept credit card. Alibaba, which is where I find all my manufacturers, has something built in on their website called Trade Assurance. And it's a platform that allows you to make payments that are protected directly to the supplier. And either those payments can come from your bank account, or in a lot of cases you can use a credit card. And there are protections in there, so I really recommend that starting out. I still do that with a lot of suppliers when I'm starting out now. I think that program has only been out for like maybe a year or two, so it's a really nice addition to the stable of things that you can do to protect yourself with new suppliers. As you scale up, as you trust these guys, as you're doing bigger and bigger order sizes, you'll probably want to switch over to wire, just because it's just kind of the way it works with buying large volumes of physical inventory. It's just wire is, like I said, there's no real fee. I mean, it's like $45 to send a wire or something, but that's the same whether it's $100,000 or $1,000. So that's what you're really gonna have to do at that level. Yeah, so it's really just something you have to work your way up to. Like for me, it's been incremental the whole time. And even sending this much of a wire is still like pretty damn scary. It's because, you know, it's a lot at stake, but I'm only doing that with the supplier that I really have a lot of trust for. Also on this subject, that big payment that I sent was actually a balance payment. So what pretty much all suppliers will do is allow you to pay generally a 30% deposit to get the order started. That means you pay 30% of your invoice total. They start producing the order, you know, manufacturing, packaging, all of that. And then they will tell you when it's done. And that's, at that time, you'll be responsible for the balance. So typically 70%. And then when you send that 70%, that's what allows them to release the shipment to you. So then you can have it taken, your freight forwarder can take it, or they'll ship it to you, whatever arrangement you have going for that. Also, around the time where the balance payment is due, that's when you could arrange an inspection if you want to. I've used Asia inspection before, so you can literally have a person on the ground go to the factory, give you this super detailed report about, and they'll like go through, take pictures, like, you know, measurements, whatever, depending on your product, whatever you need to make sure that the quality is good. They'll give you like a 50-page report, and it's usually, for that service, I think it's $300 per day, which generally you're just gonna have 1 day's worth of inspection unless you're at a really, really, really big scale. I have heard of some other services that are like $100 for a day, which is crazy. I haven't personally used those. I usually have done Asia inspection. I really liked their detailed reports. But yeah, so you would do that, then send your balance payment once you're cool with the quality and everything like that, and then arrange your shipping. But yeah, so that order, that was a 70% or like 70 to 80%, because sometimes they let me put 20% down on some products. So it can actually be a little bit less of a deposit to get it started and more due at the end. But that shipment is going on a full 40-foot container, which I have a few containers coming in for Q4, so that's pretty cool. You know, starting out, like I've said in the previous videos, I originally would just have a few boxes showing up to a studio apartment. I'd be slapping the labels on myself, me and my girlfriend Jessica, and now it's 40-footers going across the ocean straight into professional warehouses where they're being handled without me even seeing it. So that stuff, you know, takes some time to smooth out. It took me time. I had no idea what I was doing. I was super afraid of sea shipping. I was super, like, I wasn't sure how to figure out how to get it hands off, and that took me a long time, but now that it is that way, it's a lot better. So a lot of you are trying to figure out how to make it hands off day one, and I'm not sure I would always recommend that. It just depends, you know, if your product is pretty small and you're starting at a small quantity and you can handle it yourself, I would probably recommend that, because that way you can make sure the quality is up to your standards. You can you can get a feel for the process yourself, right? You know, you can see how they're packing it. Are the boxes super crappy and you need to talk to the supplier about that? You know, if you're going hands off day one, you might miss out on a lot of important things. So I don't always recommend that, but you can always smooth this out as you scale. That's more what I've done. I didn't really have the systems in place for massive scale from day one, and it took me some time to figure that out, but it worked out, you know, and so I would suggest that to anybody. And since I mentioned this was for Q4, one last note on the whole Q4 things. I did make 2 videos about Q4, so if you haven't seen those, make sure you go check back on those. I'm getting a lot of questions this week about, like, how do I get in for Q4? Is it too late? And yes, this is for Q4, but this is for established products. This is for products that I've already been selling for a long time in some cases, and it's really hard to get a new product in at this point because you need time for it to be established. What I said in the other video is that it amplifies what you already have going. So if you're starting at 0, well, what's 100 times 0? It's still 0. So you need to, you really want to be already established, which in that case, yeah, it's unfortunately a little bit too late for a brand new product. And I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible. If you've already selected your product, it's super light, takes no time to produce, and they can ship it to you by air, you could probably still figure it out. But be aware of the whole Amazon potential lockout situation. As of the day I'm recording this video, it seems like it's not happening. There's some people saying, oh, it's for sure not happening. The only true statement is that we don't know yet. Amazon can be really last minute about these things, so they could potentially still lock out new sellers around mid-October. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, lots more of this to come. If you wanna start an online business, if you want to get into all of the stuff that I'm talking about, you know, I'm doing this for the long haul, so I'm gonna get into everything. Leave your comments, I get to everybody. Give me your video ideas. Like I said, subscribe, and see you next one.